to fit the theme of
You
today's
do
movie.
look very glam rock.
I love a glam rock look, and we're also doing a glam rock movie on Monday. So get ready, because I mean, I have so much metallic eyeshadow that I usually don't wear, and I love wearing it, and I love having this excuse. But I've got some glitter on, because you
You know,
got to get some glitter for Monday
I
too.
still remember in college when you had your 70s party at your new
I
apartment, the
had
one that's on
themed
the same.
parties, okay,
Yeah,
in
this
college.
was the one that was at the new place that was on the same street that I live on now,
Mhm.
right? That one.
Yes.
Um, and the I still remember your eyeshadow for that party, and you had done this like it almost looked like it was this little pattern where it's like multiple colors painted over each eyelid, almost like not like fish scales or feather,
Oh
like
no,
something like
that
that.
one, that was for my Beatles birthday party. I was Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and I had kaleidoscope eyes.
There we go. That I remember that. But I also remember that I actually at the time, I wish I could still find this shirt. This thing was just gold. I had this really 70s shirt that had like the extenuated pointed collars and went all the way out here. And I had like the
Oh,
necklaces. So like I came like legit looking 70s, but we had all these like amazing photos. I think they're still on your Facebook somewhere from
oh
way
yeah.
back when. So Amy's love of this is genuine.
Which
I've
is
known it for
shocking
years.
that I haven't seen this movie that we're going to be talking about today.
It was a friend who first introduced it to me. Oh, see, and she got to see a live production of this at the Victorian Theater in San Francisco many years ago, I'm sure, uh, because it's been back to San Francisco as a touring production, everything. But we'll get into all of that
We
because that will be
will.
our fabulous topic. But we should probably briefly discuss the horror of yesterday's movie, our first true crime documentary for our Genre Thursday theme this month. This movie was terrifying. It was as terrifying as what we saw on Wednesday.
Isn't okay, like I know I haven't seen the documentary Amy, and that is what this movie lost to, but I could just say right now, I feel like this is the 20 feet from stardom situation where it's like, here are people who are literally in the middle of a gunfight trying to get this amazing footage, not just one gunfight, multiple gunfights.
Multiple. I
But no, give
terrified.
the Oscar to the other documentary. It's fine.
It was just mind-boggling when I'm watching. I'm like, these guys literally almost were killed several times making this movie. Like the incredible like position of danger that they put themselves in to provide this view of what's going on, basically, and also the depiction of like radicalized vigilante groups. It's
Mhm.
very real fear for us, like in our immediate like present
This week.
circumstances. So I was like watching, and also like there was the disparity between the two sides, like where you saw in Mexico, where it was like legitimately people, like it was like there was some legitimacy to the need for additional protection because these
Mhm.
people, basically, you were getting a picture, like these stories that people were telling of what they endured and what these cartels had done to their families. Like, this is why people walk across whole countries on foot to emigrate to the United States, because this is what they're trying to get away from. Like, anybody who has any argument against that, like, I just don't even want to hear that ever from
Yeah.
people. So it was like, this is why people do this. This is why people are desperate to escape those circumstances. And then you get this picture of how even this force of good eventually becomes just as corrupt as any other organized group. And of course, on the American side, you never see anything happening to anybody. Like, they're like, we're protecting. I'm like, okay, I haven't seen like you don't have any stories of any of you, how your lives were affected by this. I'm not saying that
No,
people's lives are not affected by it, but you never see, like, you never have stories of like these are the people whose lives they're defending. You never
Mhm.
see that. You just see them watching Fox News in their little bunkers, and then like loading up on weapons, and I'm like, I am legit scared. And
Yeah,
this
the
guy
only
is in
thing
there talking with
the
them and filming them.
I know. The only thing I liked about that group was at least the main guy, he had changed his focus. His original focus was he was like, "I'm just patrolling the border for any, illegals coming in." And just because he felt like, they're like, "They're taking our jobs." But then he changed his focus where it seemed, at least what they showed this documentary, that he was particularly just trying to get these drug smugglers coming in. It's like, okay, I have respect for trying to keep drug smugglers out. But like, I mean, I hope that's all that that group was focused on, or at least
Yeah.
that guy. But who knows? I mean, there's only so much you could show in a documentary. But really
Yeah,
interesting to
go ahead.
see how there's these two completely different groups kind of taking the law into their own hands because they haven't felt like they're getting the help that they need, and how that ends up for either side. And I mean, this, and I shared, if you follow us on Instagram, I just saw a news update yesterday about, I mean, of course, cartels have been going on since then and will keep going on. But just like yesterday, there was like some drive by at some little town in Mexico and like 10 people were killed. It was like this, like drug or, cartel on cartel crime. And so I shared that. I was like, this is still happening, just FYI. This is
It
still
was a
ongoing problem.
chilling end too, like that last shot where they're talking to the guy who's like now part of this rural defense group, and they bring back that scene at the beginning to show that that scene is actually part of a police operation to protect people from cartels, even though they are having to sell drugs
Yeah, they're making
as
meth as
well.
well.
And of course, they reiterate throughout the movie, like, without the enormous market for these things, like, they would not have a business if they didn't have customers. And
Mhm.
there are a lot of customers in our country,
Yeah,
which,
and the main guy in the US they interviewed, he had been, a drug user as well. He'd been sober, I think, for, like, 18 years by the time they were filming this, but,
mm,
good. But it's interesting how he changed from being like, "This is their customer," to now he's trying to defend the border by himself to keep these
right.
drug smugglers out.
I did appreciate the even-handedness. Not, I wouldn't say even-handedness. It was like there was no. He wasn't forcing a perspective on anybody. He's like, I will let. Like, I think he just believed that what he was filming would speak for itself, and so he didn't try.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
wasn't a whole lot of editorializing about it. It was like, you don't need my help to understand what's wrong here. Like,
Mhm.
this group is dangerous. They, having, I'm scared thinking of these people wandering around the border like that, the American vigilante group. Like, I'd be terrified as an American that these people are wandering around with weapons, and like, like, they're not really trained like military to do that. They
Yeah,
just watch
some of them might
video.
be former military, but, oh, yeah, it's
It's
just it's
terrifying,
madness.
but yeah, it was the end of it was like the most chilling part.
Mhm.
With like where the camera pans, like it like moves just enough so you can see the police sign on that interviewer's shirt, and at first you think that you're just talking to like another drug dealer who's agreeing to an interview, with the disguise, and it's like, no, actually this is one of the people supposedly in charge
Yeah,
of
they
protecting.
were fighting the cartels of this new group. Yeah, just the corruption, just like runs so deep, which is something that, as I mentioned yesterday, really fascinates me about cartels in Mexico. And I'm sure it's, same with any organized crime in most countries. I know, remember when we did our mobster week, back in, I think that was in September when we did our mobster week and when we watched that Italian film. And
Gamora.
yeah, and even then it was just showing, like, I think at the end it was like, look how high this goes up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like there's
there's
it's
like,
like,
oh, it goes to, these Italian fashion designers and, the government and everything in between. So it's a problem. It's an ongoing problem, and this was just one of many types of true crimes we just wanted to highlight. It's an
yes, it was
ongoing
one of
problem.
the best reviewed films that year. And still today, like I think because it's not trying to tell you how you're supposed to feel, but it, like I said, just shows you. It shows you, and it constructs the. I mean, I'm just still blown away by the filming of this movie.
Isn't it amazing?
I don't know that I've ever seen anything that intense. Like we've seen wartime photography, like it had that level of intensity. Like
Mm-hmm.
you think of like these brave journalists who go out into war zones to record this and to document it, so people know what's really happening, and they are putting themselves in harm's way to give you that information. And I feel like a lot of this information is vital from this movie, and they really put themselves into harm's way to make this film, and that should genuinely be applauded. Like that takes a
Yeah,
lot of
I
guts.
think I think one of my favorite shots is when he's in the car with these guys and the
Yes,
shooting starts happening and he just like jumps out of the car and has to like you visibly see him change the exposure on his camera so it's the footage isn't blown out, and then they're shooting for a little while and then like they barely wait for him. Just like,
barely. He had to
like
like
get
run up and
back
open the
here.
door.
We will leave you. uh,
Yeah, great start to the true crime week.
yeah, it's such an exciting film. Just absolutely incredible footage and horrifying, and you really see the effects. I mean, they're the first time they're filming in Mexico in this, you know, they're at funerals. There's a woman listing how this whole family pretty much was killed because their boss couldn't pay off this cartel and they took it out on his workers, just like literal innocent men, women, and children. Yeah, it's absolutely horrifying. Many of the true crime documentaries we have picked are horrifying in their own aspects, but
yes, we'll
uh,
go through them one
yeah,
by one.
but this was I really I'm very glad that we picked this film and I got to watch this again because it's just such an incredible documentary. I still think it should have won. I know I need to actually see Amy so I could have a better thing to compare it
Comparison.
to, but I don't know. I don't know.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
Crystal
amazing.
pointed out the funeral scene was
Mm,
just, oh my god, like it's awful to, it felt uncomfortable. I'm like, I hope I'm not going to actually see like somebody's death on film. Like I don't want to see that happen, but it literally just almost like happens in front of them. Like you don't see the actual death itself, but you see like before and then
we
right
see that.
after you
I
see the
should have.
dead
I should have. Yeah,
body. Like
I kind of forgot
I
about
didn't
some of that.
know.
I should have given people a trigger warning.
A real trigger warning for it. But I mean, I feel like
Yeah,
if you're watching a documentary about cartels, you expect to see some violence. But
I
like
would
you
hope
forget,
so.
like, oh, like the pictures of severed heads,
There's a lot
um,
of severed heads. Yeah.
the story about the babies, like so much. It was a lot. So
Yeah.
thank goodness
So
we're taking a really hard left turn for today's movie.
yeah. Well, if you did get a chance to see Cartel Land, as we were just mentioning, it is brutal. So keep that in mind if you choose to watch this. It is available on Tubi, which is free. There were some ads. They at least they put it in nice spots where it wasn't
Yeah,
like
I saw it
mid
on
sentence they just
Hulu.
cut it. It was like, oh, they're fading to black. Let's put some ads in here.
Oh, they're more set. They're more thoughtful about it.
They
When I
are.
searched for it on
And
my
like,
Apple TV, it actually showed up as open in Hulu. I don't even know how it was in Hulu, but it came up and it played, so I was able to watch in Hulu as well.
ad
I have
free.
I have a login for Hulu that doesn't have commercials, so it just
Okay.
automatically started playing it, and then I never
Okay.
saw a commercial. And then when it ended, I closed Hulu. Oh yeah, see, Crystal saw it on Hulu also, so it is available in both places. But I
Okay.
still
Good.
highly recommend
Oh, I
the
wish I
Tubi
watched
app. There
it.
are a lot of great things on that app, and it's free. And like we said, the placing of the commercials to make it free are more thoughtful than on most other apps.
Like Peacock.
So highly recommended to get that app because you'll find a lot of things for free on there that you will enjoy watching sometime. And no, I was not paid to make that message. I just appreciate free things.
Yes. Yeah. We still don't have sponsors, so let's move on to something completely different. This cult classic Friday pick, the first of the month, is Hedwig and the Angry Inch. We will. I don't think this is a German film at all, but we'll just forever say it like that. Hedwig.
Well, the character is German, so
Oh, yeah.
So so the German accent is okay, yeah.
Hedwig und die Angry Inch. Forget that. I actually have started relearning German on Duolingo, so maybe I'll eventually be able to figure out what angry and inch is. Well, of course, they have the metric system. They wouldn't have inch. Just be.
True, but you know, by the time you're getting into this story, Hedwig is in the United States, so it's all about the inches
That's true. That's true.
here. So it's yeah,
So
it's
this
okay.
movie came out in 2001. I have not seen this. A genderqueer punk rock singer from East Berlin, oh, there we go, tours the US with her band as she tells her life story and follows the former lover slash bandmate who stole her songs. This stars John Cameron Mitchell. Looks like, what's his name? Michael Pitt is in this.
Yep.
This just looks real fun. What can
It
you tell
is
us about this?
amazing.
What can you tell us about this?
Well, Nikki's right down here already like excited too. I love the excitement for this movie. It's a famous queer voice musical, like one of the great rock musicals. Rock musicals are not, you know, super common in musical theater or even in musical films. Like the musicals that we're accustomed to, almost none of them have rock music. Very few. There's like Jesus Christ Superstar,
And now things like
Hair,
Rock of Ages, which that's a guilty pleasure movie for me.
and that came out after Hedwig. Really,
Yeah.
Hedwig kind of laid the foundation for something like Rock of Ages to come later. And it's all original music in the in this story, so it's these are all, you know, totally unique to the show. But it came to life as part of like the queer bar scene, not queer bar scene, but that's where things were first performed. Like John Cameron Mitchell was inspired by drag performers doing rock covers at a club called Squeezebox, that the eventual co-writer with him, Stephen Trask, used to perform at. Uh, Crystal's already quoting the movie. There's so many good moments. Um, uh, but then Hedwig does it in like this like American like Southern, like it's great accent in that moment. But the show started as like a series, a bunch of rock covers that like John Cameron Mitchell rewrote the lyrics of famous rock songs to be about Hedwig. So that's like what it was before he wrote like totally new songs. And it was an off-Broadway production that was like instantly like a kind of a zeitgeist thing for you to go to in New York. It was just like, it's kind of like the way Little Shop of Horrors was, where like it wasn't on Broadway, it was an off-Broadway show, like in a real cult classic of a Broadway show that like you were nobody if you had not gone to see this. Like, you know, Broadway's got all its great shows, but if you want to show people that you really love theater and musicals, you would be at this show that's off Broadway right now. And so it had that kind of attention from at first just the queer community, and then it just the word spread and everybody who saw it loved it. This is like one of the very best musicals too. Like, you know, I say that with every musical. That's because we only choose the best musicals. You know, that's just how it goes.
Would you expect anything less from us, Samir? I mean, musicals.
Yes, Ian Crystal points out he was inspired by life in Berkeley and SF, and the tour of this show. So this show was actually revived after its original off-Broadway production. It started getting produced like all over the place. And because they made this film of that show, and they really changed the show a lot in terms of the structure of the story for the film. Because in the stage show, it's like a Hedwig is always on stage, and you're at Hedwig's show, and Hedwig is telling you all these stories about their life. In the movie, it's like got flashbacks. It really has a more traditional film structure in the way the story goes. So you're not in one location the entire time with flashbacks. It's like you're going through the story. But you're also seeing it through, like, you know, in between a series of performances at really low rent locations. So they're very much a not successful little band. And so there's a little bit of the, like, you feel for the underdog kind of thing about them, but they're also a queer character who's unapologetic and fabulous and completely open with their emotions to the audience, and then can sing these amazing songs. And of course, this person's songs have been stolen by someone who's now a huge rock star. And so you're already sympathetically drawn to Hedwig right away. I feel like if you don't, I don't know anybody who doesn't like this musical. Like even the person who recommended to me was not a queer person, just, you know, a very good ally who was himself a rock musician, and he loved this musical because of the music. And of course the characters, like when, because he heard the music first and then he saw the movie, and the movie became one of his absolute favorite movies. We watched it together, and it's like I found like a friend for life within that person. And this was like one of our like major bonding moments was this movie. And Crystal's right. I like that the film is not just like the musical. So I didn't get to see a live production of the musical until after I'd seen the film. And me and Crystal worked in San Francisco when that national tour. They revived this and made it an official Broadway show. Michael C. Hall from 6 Feet Under and Dexter played Hedwig. Hedwig.
Hedwig.
John Cameron Mitchell took back his role for a little bit at one point. But then in the tour, it started in San Francisco with Darren Criss as Hedwig. So Darren Criss was like a San Francisco native. So we were all like crazy about that. So me and Crystal worked that show quite a few times in that month that it was here. It was here during Halloween. It was also here during the previous presidential election is when this tour of this revival started. So they even worked in like the nasty woman line was worked into this production of the show. Always got a big cheer from the audience. I saw behind Darren Criss during an empty matinee while he watched Lena Hall take on the role of Hedwig, the first female. Yes, in that tour that was the first time a female played the character of Hedwig. And it was great because there's a narrative in the story as well about another person in Hedwig's band who is basically playing a specific role in the band and not living their own truth. And then there becomes like there's room for growth with Hedwig as well. It's not just like a pity me kind of character who can sing. You know, it's like a really rich story. And of course, the reason that the Angry Inch is the result of a botched sex change operation, because there's also a story of how Hedwig came to America, which is with another American soldier, but the soldier did not want to come back with a male partner. And so like you'll get all of that told through the music. Also, these songs, I know every song in the show, word for word, every note. If they ever have these songs at karaoke, I always do them. So now they've started. This is how popular this show has gotten. When I first watched this movie back in 2002 or whatever, you could not find any of these songs karaoke anywhere for years. Never showed up. And it wasn't until like a couple of years ago that now I'm seeing like, oh, the song Sugar Daddy from this show is a karaoke option in a lot of places. That is a song I've mastered. So if we ever get to go karaokeing again, I will sing it for you and you will be impressed. I promise. I won't have the wig or that whole outfit, but I can do the song really well.
I will make that happen.
Good. Very good. But yes, every song in this show is amazing. And you actually get to hear two versions of a couple songs, because in the movie, you're hearing like the character who stole the song, you're hearing their version of a song sometimes, and then you'll hear Hedwig's like original version of the song. There's this great animation sequence in the film for the song Origin of Love, which has become a huge sort of cultural touchstone of a song for the queer community as well. I just can't say enough good things about it. Like it's a movie, if you haven't seen it before, it will delightfully surprise you like throughout. And it will challenge you. It's just such a great, unique, and brilliant story with amazing music that I know you will also want to sing some of after you watch the movie.
Oh, definitely. I live for rock musicals. So what about this do you think has really made it a cult classic?
I really think for the queer community, it's just having a really great story with great music that's ours. You know, so like, you know, we can lay claim to that. So that's part of why it's special to me as well. It's not something you have to translate to be, you know, it's like it may be universal in some way for a lot of people, but it's not something that we have to translate into being meaningful for our lives. It like springs directly from our culture. Um, but the music itself, I think, is really what caught on with everyone because it's not often, like I said, it's not often that you get a rock musical. And it's really tough to sell a musical to anybody right now, but like legitimate rock musicians like enjoy this film. So you were having like all these different crowds. So people who love musicals loved it. So you had those people coming to the theater to see it, to whatever small theaters. It was really only distributed kind of like the what you call it, what's the theater chain that we used to always go to?
Landmark.
Hillcrest Cinema. Landmark.
Mm,
It was like a landmark
yeah.
movie, basically. So you really only got to see it in specific venues, but all the people that would be in that venue would be this mix of all these different people who all found something, like we all kind of loved the same thing about it. At least one aspect of it, you had a sort of common denominator with all these different groups of people. So in its brashness and its boldness, it brought this really disparate group of people all within its fold. So you're kind of one with more people than you were before when you come to love this movie. So I feel like that's partially really what a cult film does for its audience. And I think this one reaches out to a lot of people who just feel outside the mainstream in some way, and then also still manages to appeal to that part of people within the mainstream who are maybe a little afraid to be different. You know, like they can be different by enjoying this musical, so they get something like that out of it. I feel like that's really what makes this particular musical special and a great cult classic.
I love it. Sorry, I've been muting myself because we have workers. They're painting the house, and
Oh,
yeah,
it's okay. Crystal is like sharing everything because like I said, we both love this musical. We could like sing this together. Like we loved when we used to work at the theater, we used to occasionally just sing songs together. Um,
I should have worked there with you guys.
and look, see, she's doing her part. Crystal's a great ally. I wear my Hedwig show sweatshirt a lot and often explain to strangers what the musical is about with both shock and excitement. Things up in Placer County are conservative. That, yes. But it was so fun to work this show too, just to see it live every night. See Darren Criss in those little leather shorts at the end of the show, which do not make an appearance necessarily in the movie. But it was wonderful. But it made the show experience interesting because I'd never seen it in its original form. I'd only seen it in this form for so many years. And I still have my original DVD of it, which has some of the deleted scenes. It's also very quirky and and weird in good ways. It's again, Michael Pitt always kind of looks creepy to me, but
I agree.
apparently this story was also, the character was partially inspired by John Cameron Mitchell's babysitter. His babysitter apparently like was somebody, I think she was from Germany and had come back with an American soldier and moved to the US and was lived in a trailer park and worked as a prostitute, moonlighted as a prostitute or a sex worker. Sorry, I'm trying to train myself to never use the word prostitute, but that is, I think, the word they use in the film because it was made in 2001 before we finally moved to a better term for people who do that work. So that's where the German aspect of the character comes from. So you really get like a lot. What makes the film fun is that they get the room to go into those parts of the story and visualize parts of it for the audience. So that it kind of fills in some gaps that you don't get to see as part of the stage show. But when the stage show comes back ever, like if you ever see a production of it, it's mostly going to be independent theater that would do it now because the tour it was only planned to last, I think, for like a year or something. So it doesn't tour anymore. And I don't know if it may still be on Broadway actually. So you may be able to go there to see it one of these days.
Yes. Well, this is I think only available to rent. I think you can get this on iTunes, or you can get this on Amazon Prime. Amy has a Juliette Lewis thing going on. I will take that.
Yeah. Not
I
the
don't
Scientology
like,
part, but the cool part.
yes. I really like her as an actress. Um, yeah, and yeah, some of her personal beliefs are just questionable. Um, yeah, but I can't wait to watch this on my big screen TV with my speakers and get ready to rock out. Great way to kick off the weekend. Um, oh, I'm really looking forward to this.
I can't wait for you to watch it.
Yeah, it's Friday, which is our Patreon Appreciation Friday. Here are the people that we got going here. Now, I will add that Walter, he actually Venmoed me a screenwriter amount of money. So he actually is also going to be, I didn't include him with the screenwriter part here, but he does get to pick a movie for next month. And he already gave us
Mhm.
some options that we are excited about. But if anyone is interested in supporting us financially, please check out our Patreon. I put the link over here in the comments. We don't get paid to do this. We've been doing this since March. We love doing this. And if you are interested in picking a movie each month, pending our approval.
Mhm.
Big emphasis on that, but so far we haven't had any issues.
Right. We haven't. No, people, everyone who's
Yes,
suggested something has given us options that make it easy to choose something.
yes, yes. But that is the screenwriter tier and higher. You could make your tier higher. You can make your tier lower. You can
Mhm.
cancel at any time. It is a subscription thing as of now, but you could still keep watching us. We do this.
Of course.
Yeah, our show will always be available for free. But if you would like to support us, please consider it with a link in the comments. We really, really appreciate the ones that we do have. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys a lot. We will be doing another glam rock movie on Monday. On Monday, we will be talking about Jonathan Rhys Davies, who's someone that I have always really liked. And his role in Velvet Goldmine is just, oh, I'm planning on doing another glam rock outfit, even more wild than what I have right now. I mean, this is really just kind of the preview of.
Preview for Monday. Well, now you've got to build on this for Monday.
Oh, I know. I have some ideas. I'll be wearing a different wig, of course, because I have many. But Velvet Goldmine is a loosely David Bowie type of thing, so it's gonna be great. I love glam rock. Another rock musical. Um, yeah, so we're just gonna be rocking through Monday, and then come to a screeching halt on Tuesday.
I know we're gonna take. It's gonna be a wild roller
We're gonna
coaster.
get a whiplash.
Um, Next week, it really is like we're going from like fabulous queer rock stories to like stories of mass killings, and then perhaps the most delightful musical comedy I've ever seen, and then white collar criminals, and then cult horror sandworms in the desert.
Yeah, I mean, we like variety here. And yeah, so we'll have fun. It's gonna be another fun week, except for Tuesday, which is just, I mean, we'll still
Gonna
have fun
be
talking about it, but my God, it's just gonna be
it's gonna be
we'll see.
good though.
We'll see. If you haven't seen that movie. Oh. But please join us on Monday for that. Watch Hedwig on the Angry Inch over the weekend. And again, that's available to rent. We couldn't find it on any other streaming thing, so apologies for that. But you know, we try. We can't control everything. But Hedwig on the Angry Inch, and join us on Monday for our discussion after the movie. Moving on to Velvet Goldmine, babies on fire.